Yeah, there it is. Yep. All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I love the collaboration, and you are welcome to stay. In fact, you should sit in front and listen. Oh no, my mom always said I had a face for radio. I know I can clear a room. Come on, you guys should sit and enjoy. Oh, you got to give me the proper 15 minutes. I can't. You got. Come on, team. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Excellent. All right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to LA. On behalf of the city, Department of Transportation, John Rosan, Greg Lindsay, the whole team, congratulations on being able to come pre or post or in pandemic to CoMotion LA. This afternoon, we're going to give a little bit of an update about what's happening with the lens of the city of Los Angeles, LAWA, and the greater area. And we're going to do it in a little fun and provocative way. So that's what the title is. And I have to give Greg and my good friend Gabe $5 for the leading question. But the question this morning was, what about the metaverse, good or bad, and what's going to happen? And Salita sort of hinted and alluded to the answer, which is, regardless of what the outcome is, city stewardship is required and present. And that kind of stewardship starts with being able and opportunistically being able to manage what is called modern mobility. So today what we're going to do is showcase a little bit of what LA is doing in terms of that modern mobility and how that's going to be foundational to the metaverse, whatever that might look like. And so today, mobility policy is expressed this way. Any of us walking through the streets of any city in the modern world would understand it. We know what the signs and symbols means. We've been trained to understand. What we don't necessarily understand is the why. And the reason is the city is trying to get us to understand and do something with a lens of equity, safety, and understanding of movement. The problem is that this is a system that is struggling under what we would call today modern mobility. The digitalization, the free-for-all, the system is struggling, and we see the outcomes in very negative ways. And what is happening is the normal solutions to solve that problem, more people, more posts, more concrete, more paint, they don't work. And they don't work because they're neither dynamic nor scalable. And what's really concerning to cities around the world is these problems are only accelerating. We have companies with the best of intentions, digitizing, creating overlays, building profit on top of the public right of way without careful understanding of the overall system. The result is more VMT, congestion, bad outcomes in terms of vision zero, less movement in transit. What we see on the left, we already see today, but the right is coming. Now, what is happening underlying all this with these best of intentions is companies are in fact digitizing. They are creating, if you want to call it the digital twin, but in courtesy of this morning's presentation, what they're creating is a foundation of what is really called the metaverse. It is the ability in the beginning to manage digitally with outcomes in the physical world. So imagine if you could take that which we have in the physical world, you could take the static signs, and you could convert them to digital form, and in so doing, better manage the public right of way. Imagine if you could do that. Well, cities did imagine that, and they have developed the solution. Not only have they done it so that cities can, in fact, take that left-hand side and express it to companies and those who operate in the public right of way in a form and fashion equivalent to the digital to the analog signs that we see today. This system, this solution is called MDS. It is actually based in an organization that cities have come together to create called the OMF, Open Mobility Foundation. What we're going to showcase today is a little bit about what LA broadly is doing in pursuing this vision. Now, the OMF itself, there we go, is an organization that the city's launched. It has in its membership about 38 municipal organizations, a number of private organizations. It's supported by a number of companies, including myself from Lacuna. I'm John Ellis, president of ENA, a wholly owned subsidiary of Lacuna. We're here today to share with you that public service message. And in full fairness and in transparency, that is also supported by our New Cities Foundation. Thank you, Greg and John Rosan. Now, what in fact is it? Why is it exciting? And why did Salita say what she said this morning in terms to Gabe's answer? On the left-hand side, we have dots. They represent the vehicles in the physical space. There's a green area that through democratic process, people raising concerns to their council member, value surveys, understanding, there was a determination that the interaction of the objects in the public right of way were encumbering movement. There was an equity issue. There was a number of different concerns. And so what was decided was we need to stop this. We need to change the behavior. The normal way that they would have done it, people, paper, pencil, rewrite of permit, they didn't. What they did instead is they figured out what they wanted and they wrote 2 digital policies, which you see in the center. They published them, and the 8 companies that listened and followed them, you see the outcome on the right-hand side. Citizen complaints fell, council people were happy, mayor was happy, city was happy, achieved its outcome, and it did all this with 4 persons, no change in personnel in the department. And today the city is able to claim that it runs the largest, best run micromobility program, 57,000 plus vehicles in the public right of way. There were 8 companies in year 1, today we're in year 2, and there are 10 companies. And when they're doing it over the entirety of the 503 square miles, LA is the only city that is able to actually not have done an RFP, not have a vehicle cap, and actually make available the entire city. Now, what they did specifically with digital policies, you'll see a whole bunch. They've got today about 110 digital policies in effect in the area of micromobility. And they're moving quickly to move to other modes. And they're doing this so that they can answer questions like this. Which provider is complying best? Which provider needs a little bit of nudge? Are my equity goals being hit? Where are things happening? What's going on? Did the conversation I had with operator X actually change their behavior and the behavior of their customers in the public right of way? Questions that could not easily be asked or answered in the traditional way in which we have historically run the business. We promised you an LA story. LA DOT, sure, at the tip of the spear, but we would be remiss if we didn't talk about what Los Angeles World Airport is doing simultaneously. They saw what LA was able to accomplish. They saw that previous graphic, and they said, well, what if we brought that same form of understanding into an airport context? Understanding that in an airport, it's within the city. And so Lawa looked at this and said, well, wait a minute, let's look, here's what we want. We want to be able to make sure that we're watching our public right of way, our central terminal area. And they were looking at what they might say. And so example of a policy right here. We're going to hard limit the percentage of vehicles that are in the central terminal area based on mode type, taxi versus TNC, for example. And the result of that very hard and firm and fast rule is lumpiness in the outcome. You get something where you might have a terminal that's empty, or you might have a terminal that's oversaturated. And so keeping your eye right on the center, same goal, but using digital technology, they can reframe it. I will allow as many vehicles so long as the throughput time is equal to or less than a target number that is equivalent to a safety outcome or a good guest experience outcome. And the result of that kind of approach then yields the opposite outside. We have good customer relationships, we have good flow management, and the airport writ large is able to actually serve in the aggregate more people. Now, while that's all interesting and cool, what was really exciting as they learned through DOT is that by using digital policy, what you can actually get to is you can actually get to that long wanted per trip interaction. Ability to actually create policy within an overarching framework of an approved policy on a per trip basis. And you can create policy that is geographically aware. Where is the entity in question in which I'm trying to apply policy? You can figure out, not only is it geographically aware, you can incentivize based on vehicle type. I want to be very strong in my EV support versus my combustion engine. You can also get to differing policies. So again, within a framework of an overarching policy that has been democratically approved, you can now begin to apply very discrete. I can treat TNCs differently than taxis, differently than black car, differently than transit, differently than convenience shuttles, all with an eye, as the airport views it, overarchingly with the stewardship that they've been entrusted. You get to understand driver accountability. So while the company is saying, I am now accountable to the policy, the company is able to bring that same accountability to the actual operator of the vehicle, whilst we're in a world where humans are still, in fact, operating vehicles. And then last but not least, we can get to a point where we can get to usage. How do I understand what's happening? Can I turn the levers? Can I do that incredibly desired idea of, can I turn and manage flow, again, with an eye to optimization based on what the city or the airport wants, equity, guest services, etc. And once you have that, What you're able to do is actually bring that then to a curb, the ability to now say, I'm going to interact. I want to actually be able to interact. I want to give my residents or my guests the opportunity to choose. And in so doing that, give them an opportunity to be a part of the solution. By inviting them in and to collaborate and make choice in a framework that the city or the airport is able to present, what you'll find is the behavior of the person in question will change. On certain days, they will choose an option that might be more expensive, but it is more convenient. On other days, they're like, you know what, I'm okay to do this other option. But given options and given choice and given the framework, you will be able to effectuate the behavior. Now, what's happening writ large for LA is happening, as we talked about with the OMF. And what you're seeing is this digital policy, this construct, this want and this need, it is broadening in scope. And what you see in front of you are modes and assets that the city of Los Angeles and the county have agreed that they want to move forward on in trying to bring this vision to life. There are representative municipalities listed. They are representative municipalities that are participating in the OMF, that have expressed desire, that are working forward, that are trying to put RFPs out, or that are saying, I want to try this out. But this is something that is happening. You heard Stephanie say, the county and the city have a big, hairy, audacious goal. They want the Olympics to be carless in 2028, 6 years from now. Actually 7 years, 2028, but 6 years from now, because it will be in the summer and it'll happen around. In order to accomplish that, they can't put enough people, paper, pencils. They can't put enough paint. They can't put enough concrete. They can't write enough laws. The only way to effectuate that is something like this. And the county and the city are working diligently to try and arrange and figure out how they're going to make real this world and make real that goal. If we have learned anything, what the cities have learned, what the journey of all these municipalities in the UMF have learned, is that digital tooling takes traditional choices, the traditional means, to whole new levels. I can actually toggle geography. I can do a construct in the metaverse that actually has realities in the physical world. I can do things also like orchestrate access. I can now actually do what planners around the world have so desired. In real time, understanding the real conditions, how do I actually augment, modulate my plan such that I achieve the outcomes? You can finally actually do the governing behavior needed. How do I execute my stewardship of the public right away in a way that is fair and equitable, that is transparent, but that at the fundamental bottom of it has what Sleeta says, I am gender aware, I am race aware, I am class aware. And then last but not least, how do I go ahead and take care of pricing as a dynamic? How do I bring it in? How do I effectively measure it? How do I effectively transmit it? Dr. Dyer said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at will change. In 2018, or late 17 and 18, the city of Los Angeles, Salida Reynolds specifically, dared to look differently. She dared to say, if I could be more like a product company, what might I do? And with that one question and with that one change, she was able to bring together cities from around the world and launch a city-led revolution to lay the fundamental framework for today, what we're going to call the metaverse. This is an exciting time. If you're interested in learning more or seeing more, these are the links at the OMF for MDS, as well as for LADOT. As I've said, my name is John Ellis. It's been a pleasure to be here today to share a little bit about the fundamentals underlying the metaverse. I look forward to seeing you all on the show at CoMotion LA. Thank you. We have 2 minutes. I don't know, we could take a question, maybe. I know we're being filmed. Anyone? Come on, Greg, how about you? Oh, yeah. You want the mic 3, please? Mic 3. Thank you. Hold on, he's gonna turn it up. Mic 3 is hot. There you go. Oh, did he turn the button on? Make sure we capture this for posterity. Oh, absolutely. I don't know. Yeah. On the bottom. Oh, there it is. I see it.
There you go. All right. There we are. Thank you so much.
All right.
So for those of you in the live stream, so my question for you, John, is yeah, I'm curious I helped put the prompt in for the metaverse, but I'm curious your thoughts on what that will look like as various corporate entities, Microsoft, Facebook, others, build an extended reality metaverse on top of the built environment. How does the MDS evolve, or a suite of tools evolve from that to create, you've talked a lot about digital twins over the years, but a true digital twin of the city. What does it look like in terms of how do you put those assets together, and how do you create a common framework that would then force any entity to acknowledge the base layer reality of LADOT and other public agencies?
I think the journey is actually twofold. First is the OMF, is the open source. I mean, one of the things that the city learned, and I think we heard this coming into cities long, like cities work best when they work together. And so the OMF was structured to be an organization by cities for cities. And so governance, when you talk about that, I think happens through that lens and framework, bringing in and talking about it. But I think what the underlying and maybe the intended consequence of that specifically is, if when you're in open source, what we see is we see adoption and collaboration. And so that as long as there's a light framework of adoption of rulemaking around it, you'll see companies coming in and say, I will take that. This is actually then flip-sided with cities who say, if I really want something like this, I'll write RFPs that say, I need you to actually have taken from the OMF, or I need your product to be qualified to be part of the qualified response. And in so doing that, cities will start sending signals to markets that we're going to do this kind of tool making. So I think it's a two-part story, right? Cities get behind this, but it all is fundamentally around procurement, solving a procurement. It's around open source. It's around collaboration. And if you solve those three things, I think the history of open source and of technology advancements and adoption are just a ripe example. Do those things, the other things will follow. All right, I'm down with time. We always end with one question. So again, thank you so very much. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon here at CoMotion LA, and enjoy LA. Take care.